Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. This is a lesson on Gypsy Road by Cinderella. Okay, so we're going to go through all the parts, including the solo and everything. So let's just jump right into it. So that what I was playing right there was the intro, and you can see here are the tabs for the intro. So this takes place on the A string. Okay, so you're starting out with a 4th fret bend, release, and then you're coming down to the 2nd fret of the A string. So it's going to be... Okay, and as soon as you hit that 2nd fret on the A string, you're going to immediately follow it up by a power chord, 2nd fret power chord on the A string. Okay, and then after you hit that power chord, you're going to hit a single 2nd fret A string followed by another power chord. Okay, and then it's 0, 2, 4 on the A string followed by the same rhythm. So it's... Okay, let me play that slower, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so that is the intro and pretty much the main riff that happens many, many times throughout the song. Okay, so let's get on to the verse. Okay, so now we're on the verse, okay? There's a bunch of different parts of the song, so we're just going to call this the verse, okay? So with that said, there's 2 guitar parts here, and you can take a look at the very end of this tab, and that is going to be the 2nd guitar part, which I will explain in a minute after I get done explaining the 1st guitar part, alright? So the 1st guitar part is essentially just a shuffle figure, it's called. You basically just take an A power chord, which is just the open A string, plus the 2nd fret of the D string, making an A power chord. Okay, and you're playing that, and then you're kind of just taking your 3rd finger and putting it down on the 4th fret of the D string, okay, while you're playing the open A string the whole time. So it's going to sound like this. So keep in mind that rhythm. It's 1, 2, dan, 1, 2, 3, dan, 1, 2, 3, dan, 1, 2, 3, dan. Okay, so the first one is 2, and then it's all 3s after that. Okay, so after it goes through that shuffle figure thing, it goes right back into that intro riff, alright? So play it a little slower. Okay, so that thing that you see at the end of the tab here, that is what the 2nd guitar player is doing. That 0-3-4 thing on the low E string, that's just a lead-in to the verse, which you can play You can play both parts yourself if you'd like, but really that's what the second guitar player is doing in the actual song. And then that the thing that you see on the higher strings, that's also what the second guitar player is doing throughout the verse as well, which I will show you in a second. But first, let's look at this lead-in part, the 0-3-4. So if you were to play both of them by yourself, you know, try to do both guitar parts simultaneously, that would sound like this. Okay, so that's doing it both yourself, but really that's what the second guitar player is doing, you know, over top of what the first guitar player is doing. The first guitar player doing just the guitar part by himself would sound like this. Okay, so you see you can either just do that or you can do both parts yourself, whatever you choose to do. Now the second part is that is just, you're basically taking your A chord, taking your first finger and playing an A chord, okay, and then taking your pinky and hitting the E and B strings on the 5th fret. Okay, so I kind of don't remember the exact rhythm off the top of my head, but I have the first guitar part stored, and I'm just going to try and play the second guitar part over top of it. So it's going to be like... Okay, so I had the first guitar part stored in there on my looper, and the second guitar part's just kind of going... So... forgive me if that's not the exact rhythm that is going on in the song, but it's just kind of like high upstroked hits, okay? And all it is an A chord, okay? That's an A chord coming from the G shape. If you were to play the full G shape of the A chord, that would look like this, okay? But you can also just play the high 4 strings, take your first finger, play an A chord, alright, and then take your middle finger and play the high E and B strings to get that high-pitched sounding A. Okay, so that's both guitar parts for the verse. Now let's get to, I guess we'll call it the pre-chorus. Okay, so I guess we could call this the pre-chorus, and basically this is kind of more of those shuffle figures, but now we're doing it, we're starting off with a D power chord, okay, so it's an open D string, and then your first finger is going to go on the A string, 2nd fret, okay, and you're going to be doing the same thing, hammer down on that 4th fret with your 3rd finger, okay, so it's... and you're kind of holding out on that last one. And then you're coming down and doing the A power chord shuffle figure. And then you're coming down and you're doing a little bend on the 2nd fret of the low E string. Okay, so it's bend, release, open E string, and then the E power chord. All right, so now the rest of this is it goes. Okay, so that rhythm's a little tricky there, but just follow along with me a few times. Okay, so it's hitting that power chord, that B power chord, 2nd fret A string, and then goes right back into it. So it doesn't actually keep repeating that over and over. I just played it several times so you could try and follow along with me. It actually only does that once, and then the second time around, it comes down to the 3rd fret power chord on the low E string, down to the 2nd fret power chord, low E string, and when you're on that 2nd fret power chord, it goes. So you're playing the power chord, then you're lifting these fingers up, keeping your first finger barring the 2nd fret of the low E and the A string. Okay, and then it goes right back into the intro riff again, which we already went over. So let me play the whole thing how it's actually played in this song. Okay, so that is the whole pre-chorus. Okay, now let's get to the next part. Okay, so now we're at the chorus of the song. Alright, so again, this is tricky with the rhythm, but you're just going to have to follow along with me a few times. So essentially, this is starting out on the B power chord. Well, it's actually starting out with the same riff that is the intro riff, so it's... Okay, so you already know that, the bending on the 4th fret down to the B power chord. Okay, but then it's doing kind of like a reverse power chord. This is actually just an E power chord. So if you play an E power chord, you take your 2nd fret of the A and the D string and bar that with your 1st finger, and then take your 4th finger and put it on the, take your 3rd finger and put it on the 4th fret of the G string. Okay, so it's almost the same as the B power chord. The B power chord's like this. But then if you remove your 3rd finger from the D string and move it to the G string, keeping your 1st finger where it's at, it then becomes an E power chord. So okay, so don't let the tabs confuse you there. You may see that E power chord and your mind might register it as a B power chord, okay? But notice the difference. So it's okay, so it starts out with that intro riff, goes to the B power chord, then it switches to that E power chord, that weird reverse power chord. Okay, and while it's playing that E power chord, it's lifting up the 1st finger. Okay, so this is kind of a weird rhythm, but just follow along. And then it comes down and does a little fill on the E string, so you can bend that 3rd fret a little bit too, or you can just hit the 3rd fret. So. goes back into that shuffle figure starting on the A power chord. Okay, so open A string, first finger on the 2nd fret, and then to an E power chord. Okay, so like I said, the rhythm's a little tricky, but just follow along and just keep doing it until you get it. Okay, so as you see, you can either play the E power chord like this, as you probably already know, or you can play that one where you take your 3rd finger, put it on the 4th fret of the G string, and it gives it a more fuller sound. Okay, so just kind of follow me and follow the tabs along with the song, and you should be able to get it. So. Okay, so it does this chorus part twice, but the second time around it's slightly different than the first time. Okay, so the second time around, when you get to that E power chord, the reverse power chord thing, instead of lifting your first finger up and hitting that open A string, you're actually just keeping the chord there, and you're going. Okay, so the alternating note in between is now going to be the E string, okay? Okay, so the first time around it goes. The second time around it goes. Alright, very, very subtle difference. Probably won't even notice the difference when you're playing it, but just something to keep in mind that it is different between the first time and second time. So. Then it goes back to that shuffle figure, starting from the A power chord. And then it ends this chorus on the. Okay, so you already know that. That's just the 2nd fret of the E string. Bend to the open E to the power chord. So I'm just going to play the whole thing a few times through. Try to follow along, okay? Okay, so that is the chorus, and hopefully I was played it enough times that you were able to follow along with the rhythm there, because that one is a little tricky. It was a little tricky for me to learn, but keep playing and you'll get it. So on to the next part. Okay, so now we're on to the bridge. This is the part that comes right before the solo, and as you saw, this has 2 guitar parts to it. They're actually both playing simultaneously, so the second guitar part is harmonizing with the first guitar part. Okay, so first let's talk about the first guitar part, then I'll show you the harmony part. So basically this is just starting on the 4th fret of the A string power chord, and it's going. Okay. And then you're coming back and you're doing the shuffle figure on the coming from the A power chord. Okay. And then you're coming up and you're doing a power chord right here, okay, rooted on the 2nd fret of the D string. So 2nd fret D string, then take your 3rd finger, put it on the 4th fret G string. Okay, and this is another shuffle figure, but you got to kind of stretch your pinky to hit the 6th fret of the G string. Okay, and then you come down and you play the same power chord, but you're playing it on the A string now. Okay, so far we have. Okay, so keep in mind that the rhythm is slightly different for these stretchy power chords. Okay, so when you're doing the shuffle figure for this, you kind of get that last note in there. But when you're doing the stretchy ones, it goes, and it kind of holds that last one. Okay, so I'm going to play it through a few times and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so. Okay, let me play it a little slower. Okay, so you see how those stretchy power chords, I'm calling them the stretchy power chords because it's kind of tough to stretch your pinky, but they end with the pinky down. As opposed to when you're playing the power chord here, that ends like that. Okay? So basically it does that whole thing twice, and then it ends the bridge on the 2nd fret power chord rooted on the A string. Okay, no shuffle figure for that last one. So guitar number 1 all the way around is. Right into the solo. Okay? So now we're going to do the 2nd guitar part, harmony part. So I have the first part looped in my looper pedal here, and this is actually pretty easy. So it goes. So it's just 4, 6, 7 on the A string, ending on the 5th fret of the E string. Together it sounds. Okay. And then it goes, you're doing these octave chords, 7th fret of the E string, 9th fret of the G string, muting the string in between, muting the D string, okay? So you're just doing 7, 9, and then 6, 8. And back to 7, 9. And then you're hitting the 7th fret. So you have. And then it ends. That's the end of the 2nd guitar part. The first guitar part takes care of the build-up power chord here. Okay, so the whole thing, you know, the 2nd guitar part played over top of the 1st guitar part. One more time. Okay, so that's it for the 2nd guitar part. Okay, and then we move on to the solo. so here's the solo of the song. Basically, it's mostly taking place in this D minor pentatonic area, okay, between the 10th and the 13th fret. Okay, so it starts out with this blues riff, or it's like a standard like pentatonic lick. So you're bending on the 12th fret of the G string, and you're hitting the 10th fret of the B and E. Okay, so in time with the music, it would be. Okay, and then you're coming up and you're bending on the 15th fret of the B string, and then you're doing a blues lick. So you do a quick bend of the 10, or I'm sorry, you do a quick bend of the 15 on the B string, and then you come down 10, 11 on the D, and then 12 on the A. So far we have. One more time. Okay, so I have the metronome going on as well, so you can try and get your timing down for this. Okay, so after you do that, then you're just barring the G string and the B string on the 11th fret, and you're sliding from 11 to 12. Okay, so you're doing that a couple times, just kind of keeping the rhythm of the song. You know, it doesn't have to be exact, unless you want to get it exact and listen to the track to see exactly what he does, but essentially that's what it is. Okay, and then it goes. So it's a half step bend on the 12th fret of the A string, coming down to the 10th fret of the A string, coming down to the 12th fret of the E string. Okay, so the timing for that, I'm going to do the whole thing because it's in my looper, so listen to the timing. Okay, so that's that. Then we go into, this is kind of a faster pentatonic lick. It goes. So that is bend on the 12, 12 of the G string, and 12 on the G string, 10 on the B, 10 on the E. And you hammer, or you do a pull off from the 13 on the B to the 10 on the B. Okay, it's actually a lot easier to just play it than it is to say every note, but you can just kind of follow along with the tabs and follow what I'm doing. So it's. Alright, so up to that point we have. Okay, so you want to be ready for that chord change to do the next part, okay? So you got to kind of play along with the rhythm as much as you can to try and get these phrases correct, alright? So. So that part is, so that would be 10, 11 on the D, coming to the 12 on the G, and then back to the 10, 11 on the D. Alright, and then you're coming down to the 7th fret of the D string and the G string. Taking the 7th fret of the D and the G string, and you're bending it kind of a half step, coming to the 5th fret of the D string. And then it's 3, 4 on the D string. So So it's another little bluesy riff there. And then you want to end the solo by bending the 3rd fret a half step, the 3rd fret of the G string. Okay, so you're ending on the note B, but you want to enter it by a bend. Okay, and if you have a whammy bar, use the whammy bar, or if you just want to kind of do some tremolo with the bend, whatever you want to do, but it ends on that note B. Okay, so I'll just run through the whole thing slow now. Okay, so something sounds a little out of tune here, but you know, you get the point. So play along with the track, follow the tabs, you know, you'll get it down. It's not too bad of a solo, but that's it for the first solo. Okay, so now we're at the part that comes right after the solo, and it's, I just call this the clean guitar riff because it's kind of cleaner and less gritty than the rest of the song. So basically you're just kind of playing these chords, but you're kind of playing them across all 6 strings, okay? So it's basically you're starting out on this bend on the 4th fret of the A string. Okay, same thing as the intro riff. Okay. So you're bending, and then once you get to that B power chord, you know, you're kind of playing through the strings. And you can even hit both 4s at the same time if you want. And then you're coming down and you're bending on the 2nd fret. Then hitting the 2nd fret of the D string, and then open on the B and E. So you have okay, and then you're doing a shuffle figure, but now it's much slower, so it's going. Okay, so the A power chord shuffle figure, then the E power chord shuffle figure. So all together you have and one little trick to keep in mind is after you do that second part, I find it's best to hit that 2nd fret D string with your 1st finger because that sets you up for the. Okay, so you're going. Because your 1st finger is already right there on the 2nd fret of the D string, waiting to play that. See what I'm talking about? Your 1st finger's already right there. Okay, so that's that part that comes right after the solo. Now we just have the outro to work on. Okay, so now this is the outro of the song. Now, it's pretty much the same chords that have been going on the whole time. It's just, you just gotta kind of feel it out, okay? So it's, the only chords that are actually occurring are this B power chord here. Okay, and then we're going to the E power chord. That's that kind of reverse power chord thing, where you're kind of hitting the E power chord here, 2-2 on the A and the D, and then you're taking your third finger and putting it on the 4th fret of the G string. Okay, so you have the B power chord, you have the E power chord, and you have the A power chord. Okay, you're just kind of doing some rhythm embellishments in between there. Okay, so starting out with the, so it moves down to a quick A before moving to the E. So it's, and then you're holding out on the A for a while. Okay, so I'm just going to play through a few times rather than trying to explain it note by note and the exact rhythm, and just kind of follow along, okay? Okay, so just kind of keep in mind the difference between that B power chord and the E power chord. Okay, it's like a backwards power chord. That's the way I like to think of it. So that is it for the guitar 1 outro riff. Now we just have the outro solo that the lead guitar player does, and that's going to conclude the song. Okay, so this is the last part. This is the outro solo. I'm just going to play through it a few times. You just really got to practice these licks and get the timing down for the licks. Okay, so it starts out with a 9-7-6 on the G string. It does that twice. And then we're now kind of in this B minor pentatonic area. Alright, so it's that pentatonic lick where you bend on the 9th fret of the G string, and then you come up and you hit 7-7 on the B and then the E, and then you bend the 10th fret of the B string. Okay. Alright, and then after it does that, then it comes in on the upbeat, so it's, alright, so it's, okay, see how it comes in, it's a little delayed there. Okay, so it's a 10-7 on the B to the 9 on the G. Okay, and then you're just kind of playing on the 7-9 area, or you're barring the 7 on the G and the B string and the 9 of the G and the B string. Okay, so it's a lot easier to actually just play it than it is to explain it. So let me try and do that. 7th fret of the D string, okay? So that's like the first part of this solo, okay? So I'm going to play it one more time. Okay, now the second part of it is it's doing your bar, taking your first finger, and barring the 6th fret of the G and the B. So you're barring the 6th and sliding to the 7th. If you want, you can just do the slide one time, or you can do it every time. You can go, or you can just go. All right, whatever you want to do. Then it goes. So you're bending on the 9th fret of the G string, and you're going. Okay, you just got to kind of get the timing down. It's very hard to get the perfect timing without the rhythm going on behind you. So let me just try and play that part. Okay, see how the timing goes there? Okay, so let me just play the whole thing through, and then you can try it out yourself. Okay, so that's about it for the outro solo right there. Try it out yourself, and if you have any questions or if I left anything out, feel free to hit me up and I'll try to help you out. Thanks a lot.